Hi, and welcome back to another installment of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. I'm your host, Cuddy Cudworth, the UK's leading mind management coach. And this podcast is all about everything that we need to know about mindset, mental health, workplace wellness, coaches sharing their stories of how they've had to overcome something. And in a world of misinformation, I think the most important part we should say about this podcast is what we're creating and what we're bringing to the table is new conversations and new points of view. I think opinions are not facts, but they are also really important that if we can change our perspective, especially our belief systems, for some people it can change lives. Not for everybody, but for a lot of people, once as I've had my beliefs changed and I've had my mindset changed, it helps us see the world in a different light. Today, we are talking about money mindset. And I'll be honest, I possibly don't have the best money mindset. But as if we were on blind date, Tracy, tell us who you are, what you do, and why you're here.
Oh, blind date, Cuddy, that shows our age. So, my name's Tracy Irwin. I'm a finance mentor and I've been in finance for nearly 30 years. I have founded, grew, and sold an accountancy practice. But about a decade or so ago, I found the love of teaching, about giving the autonomy to business owners to understand their own numbers. And that's what I've been doing since. I've got a coaching degree. I've got degrees in like money mindset and stuff as well. So it's kind of like grown from that point. So it's yeah, I'm kind of I've lost my train
No,
of
you're
thought.
bang on. You're
Sorry.
exactly, look, no one needs to know that we just pre-filmed this and we messed up and we're starting again. You're doing exactly fine. That's the beauty
So
of the podcast. They're raw,
it
they're
is.
real.
I love that you've invited me to this because something that you just said in the intro really intrigues me. It's kind of like understanding that people do have a different mindset and do have a different opinion, and that it's not always something to shut down when somebody has a different opinion to you. It's something that actually should intrigue you to think, what happened? Why do they have that? Where did that come from? So yeah, I'm really pleased to be here.
And that's what it is, Tracy. And look, as we're going to be talking about money, money is a dirty subject for some people. It creates resentment in others. I just had a friend, he doesn't watch the podcast, but I just had a friend who says, Cuddy, I think I'm thinking about retiring. And he's only, what, 31. He went, because I've hit on this thing and this thing. He says, and I'm now generating this amount of money every month. He went, oh my God, I don't need to work. And I'm like, I could not be more proud for that gentleman and happy for that gentleman. But in a world of opinions and emotions, I know for a fact there'll be so many people go, what an arsehole, he's changed because he's got money. And I'm like, he
Yeah.
never has. It's our opinions of them change because they have something that we don't have. And that drives resentment. And anyone watching this podcast is look, we want to give you a different point of view, of which I'm going to learn from Tracy as well. I said this earlier, about how money comes easy for some people, money doesn't come easy for some people. And that's where we have to look at actually, there'll be a timeline and a history of why people struggle with money because we're going to talk about learned behaviors, we're going to talk about belief systems, and we're going to talk about how we've been able to perceive money. And you have a fantastic story of how you perceived money when you were younger. So we're gonna go way back, all the way back to the beginning for to get you to that tipping point. There's always a tipping point that starts people thinking, going, right, what the fuck? What is actually going wrong? What do I need to change? And that can be a long journey before people get there. So, Tracy, take us way back and talk about how you were brought up to believe and see money.
Okay, we're going quite far back. So when I was about six, I watched my mum not eat, and not because she wasn't hungry or she was on a diet. It's because she wasn't given enough money to feed all three of us, like me, my brother, and herself. And obviously, as a 6-year-old, you do notice, but you don't think about it at all.
Not conscious.
And yeah, and it's all subconscious. And when I was 19, I was a single parent. So I was a child having a child myself, but I still worked. And I didn't know where that force came from. I didn't understand why it was so important for me to continue to work when, I was trying to be a single parent at the age of 19. And what I realized is, as an adult, and once I started looking into money mindset, is I never wanted to feel that vulnerability that my mum had of not being dependent on somebody else. Like, she was totally dependent on somebody else, and I never wanted to feel that way. So as I grew up and I started working with business owners for them to understand their own business, started to look and find that I could teach them their numbers. I could show them exactly what their business was doing. But for some reason, sometimes money still didn't just come to them. Like, it was like they were blocking something. And my curiosity, because I do get curious a lot, was like, why? Why is this happening? So the more I looked into money mindset, the more I learned about myself. Like, it was a big aha moment for me. I was like, oh my goodness, that's why I've been so independent. Like, I've lost relationships through my fierce independence, by the way. Like, you know, it's really difficult for certain men, by the way, to have such a strong, independent woman in their life because they want to look after them. And I've lost relationships through that. And it's only understanding my own mindset that's actually made me I just thought they were assholes at the time, but now I actually realized that it was probably me. Like, it was my thoughts, my mindset that actually made that happen. And it's like so many people just they haven't never looked into their own money mindset to know why they're not as successful as they'd like to be.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to touch on today is the belief systems behind and
Yeah.
the learned behaviors, and you sharing that story. This is kind of like an explanation for generational trauma. And to be fair, I've always found the analogy of the fleas in the jar as such a powerful example for how we learn the limits that we have to live at, and they get passed on generationally. And until we break those generational belief systems that are not ours, they are from somebody else. And I'm still breaking down my beliefs around money and things like that. But when you put the fleas in the jar, the fleas jump as high as they want. They jump 100 feet straight up and down, up and down, up and down, stay in the jar, but keep jumping up and down. You put a lid on the jar for a week, and after a week of the fleas hitting their head against the ceiling, the top of the jar, they've learned that's our limit. Then after a week, you take the lid off. The fleas can jump as high as they want, but after a week of hitting the lid, they never jump higher than the lid again. And then the new fleas come along, and they've been told if you can only jump this high, even though there's no lid on the jar, the next fleas come along and they still just jump to the same level as the lid. And that's the ceiling. That's the belief that we've been given. So if Tracy's been watching her mum struggle, then we have a belief system. That's a learned behavior. Now, you imagine the amount of people in the world that have a belief system about money,
Yeah.
of which I know some of my beliefs come from my mum and dad.
Yeah.
And I'll even share a belief about my mum and dad whenever they talk about somebody on TV, because I do a lot of entertainment.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered why I've not pushed myself as far as that. And I was sat at my mum and dad's house about 2 years ago, and I was sat listening. They were talking about somebody on the TV, and they went, "Oh, look at that wanker, just because he's got all the money in the world, and he thinks he's so precious."
Yeah.
I sat there and I'm going, it was one of those epiphanies. It was one of those, so because I don't want to upset my mum and dad, and mum will think
Yeah.
people with money are arseholes. Guess what belief system I've got? People with
It's
money are
so
arseholes.
true. It is, and that's what we perceive, isn't it? It's like what rich people actually are. I love the story of the fleas, by the way. Like, I've got another story similar to that. I think it was in Happy Money by Ken Honda, and it was about a newly married couple who got Sunday lunch, and she got this big ham, and she chopped the two ends off the ham, and she put it into the cooker, the oven, and he said, "What have you cut the ends off for?" She was like, "I don't know. My mum did it." He was like, "But why?" And she was like, "Oh, I don't know." So she rang her mum and said, my husband has just said to me, why, if I cut the ends off the ham? She said, but I do it because you did it. Why do we do this? And a man went, oh, I actually don't know. I said, I did it because that's what your grandma taught me to do. She said, we ring grandma and ask her. And she said, yeah. So she rang her grandma and said, right, we're asking why do we cut the ends off the ham? And her mum, so the grandma went, well, I don't know. She said, I should do it because my oven wasn't big enough for when I used to buy a ham. And that's like, and it's so true that that's what we just copy, like generational stuff. And until we sit and think about it, like the amount of times I heard money doesn't grow on trees, my mum would still say it now. And it's strange because when I became financially free in my business, this is where my journey, and like I said, I'm always learning, and my money mindset is not 100% myself. We're always learning. Nobody's perfect. And I thought, or many people think, that because of the upbringing I had, I would be a saver. I'm not. I'm a spender. And when I first got money, I didn't save it. I didn't think about my future. Like I won't say I don't regret anything really, but because I had a nice time with that money. But if I could go back in time, I would tell myself to look after my future instead of just looking after myself at that time. But it was like this coil, this spring that's like, hang on a minute, I've got money, I'm going to enjoy it. And I did and people say to me, oh, that's really strange because that's not a copied habit from your parents. I'm like, no, that doesn't work like that. Some things are copied, but other times you go the entirely
It's a rebellion against what you've learned.
It is, I know, and I lost a lot of money by doing that. I enjoyed myself doing it, Cuddy, but it's part of my story.
It is. And this is always the thing about choice of how we were made to feel when, and we say, oh, when I grow up, well, I'm going to do this, and then you do it, and then there's another downside to why you did that. But we like to prove others wrong.
Yeah.
And it's such a fascinating tale of, I love the ham one. Oh, why'd you cut the ends off? Oh, because the oven wasn't big enough for the ham. The oven wasn't big enough for the ham. Then you get a bigger oven, but you still got the small ham. That's genius.
Yeah.
That is absolutely genius. But this is how our belief about money is. And I think it's a powerful conversation for us. There's so many people in the world, and I think I saw Gary V do something about this because when you're sitting and you're watching and you're wanting to learn, there's so many people in the world that actually slate and slag off the 85 people who are multi-billionaires.
Yeah.
Now, at one point in their life, let's say 80 of them were not given anything and they've made those billions themselves.
Yeah.
And then there's people saying, well, they should pay more tax. Well, what if one of those people started on the streets in London and hustled, cracked onto a system that's made billions, and he's now living the life they're living the life that they want because they hustled and they worked hard. Now, this is not a podcast about who should pay tax and who shouldn't pay tax. But I always like to think, and I reference, the English football team. The English football team, when they're 17 and 18-year-old, and people all over English people are watching them and going, oh, look at these. Oh, why did that person do that? Why did that player do that? And I'm sat watching going, at one point in their life, they were 6-year-old boys that all they wanted to do was play football for England. They get to that place where they've put in the effort, they've put in the hard work, they've trained and trained and trained and been mentored, and they get onto the biggest stage in the world and they just have all the hate for being football players. And I'm like, what kind of a story is that to say to a 6-year-old boy?
I know. I've seen
or
the
a
same.
girl.
I'm a Formula One fan, and I've seen this year people do that to Lando Norris massively. Like he's worked so hard up until, and like now, like he was getting boos and everything. Like, why are you booing this young man when in his time of his pride, he's worked so hard to get to that point? That's all he's wanted. He's sacrificed so much. Yes, he comes from money. I get that, but he's sacrificed so much of his life to get to that pinnacle part, and yet people just are jealous. But I don't understand it. Like you said before about your friend who wants to retire, like that's amazing. I love that. I absolutely love it. But I know the people who in my circle would say, what an asshole.
I
And
know.
I'm like, right, he's probably either he's worked really hard or he's like
Super smart.
stumbled on something. He's smart. Leave him be. Like, I personally couldn't retire at 31. I'd have got bored way too
Oh,
easily.
I would have retired. Oh, I'd have been happy. I
But that's
remember
it.
because,
Everyone's different. But I still, I want to help other businesses. That's where the Momentum Academy comes from.
yeah,
Is like helping smaller businesses. I could just take on financial direct clients and help the big people, but it's not where my passion is because then they are paying themselves minimum wage and more.
yeah,
So I want to help those that aren't.
yeah. So Tracy, what for 2026? What's something that somebody can do today? They're gonna, without even coming to see Tracy. Tracy, what would you say to anybody that's watching this podcast and going, do you know what? These are the 3 to 5 things that you need to start doing to start changing your mindset towards how money is made, where money is made, and how it's going to make you feel. You're the
Okay,
finance mentor. Tracy, what's 3 to 5 things?
I would suggest gratitude is the first one. So becoming grateful for the things that you actually have, the skill sets, the lifestyle, like things that, because even in the worst of weeks, there is always good in there. And I think having a grateful attitude towards life in general, for me, money is energy. So if you've got negative energy inside you, then the money that you get is going or don't get is of negative value too. So being a positive person, having think that for me is fundamental in life. Budgeting. So there's 3 types of people when it comes to money. There's spenders, there's savers, and there's avoiders, by the way. So finding out which one of those that you are is a really good starting point because once you like spenders need budgeting so that they actually do save for the future. Savers need budgeting so they actually do like reward themselves because what happens is it's like a diet. If you just save and you don't spend any money, the fulfillment of your life doesn't happen because there's no joy in the money that's there. So you have to have some that you put a date night in, or a play pot, or a fun something. So you've got to kind of have that. It's about balance, isn't it? Everything's about balance. And avoiders need a budget so they actually look. Because like there's so many people just don't want to look, but having a budget forces them to be able to do that. And it's all about balance. So that's the second one. And the third one is look back at your parents, your grandparents, find out where your limiting beliefs come from or your blockages come from because there will be something. Think about your earliest memories. I did an exercise once about anger and money. So like,
Mm,
anger is a block in itself. And we got told to write the earliest times that we were ever felt angry in our life. And I was like, mine was 11. And by the end of the exercise, I was bawling. I was crying my eyes out. And it was a tough time personally anyway, when I was doing the exercise. But it freed me up so much that once the anger disappeared out of my system, I felt so much lighter. I felt so much more in gratitude mode. That I know that it's easier to like understand money and attract money. So yeah, just looking at patterns. Look back. Don't blame your parents, by the way. It's not their fault.
it's
It
not. They know.
really
They only knew
isn't.
what they knew.
That's it. And I think, and if it's something it is kind of a trauma, then work on your forgiveness.
They only cut off the ends of the ham because they didn't know the size of the oven.
Exactly. Let's go with that one as a saying for us. So it's kind of like, yes, do look back, but don't blame anybody. Just you're looking back just to find out why or where your blockages are so that you can actually remove them, so that you can actually earn more and be financially free.
So I want to ask you a question, and this is, by the way, you've not been prepped with any questions before we start. And a lot of people that come on the podcast, we do work on flow and we work on how the conversations are going. So when you're talking about attraction and having the money mindset, there's two things. There's a positive that popped up is you use the word I became curious.
Yes.
Curiosity is the opposing emotion of judgment. So
Oh,
judgment, oh, that's the negative. Curiosity is the opposing. So if anybody's judging and being judgmental, you're in a negative, disempowered place.
okay.
Curiosity brings your brain over to let's find out why you've retired at 35. Let me find out if there's anything I can do to model your success. And let me find out more from the person who's been successful. Judgment is negative, it's disempowering. It's like, look at that wanker, this person's doing this, and I can't believe that happened. So you're not going to move, you're not going to look, you're not going to find. So that's an emotional shift for people working through money. And when you said curiosity, I'm like, Tracy, bang on. And I get judgmental. And the reason I say that is the second I know I'm being judgmental, I've moved away from curiosity.
Yes.
So I'm in a negative, disempowered place. And I'm like, right. So I've always created a thought pendulum within myself. A thought pendulum allows me to move away from negative to positive. Not living in a state of positivity, because that will fuck you up anyway. It's not possible, and it drives depression, upset, anger, and resentment. So
Yep.
she sat there going, well, why is everyone else so positive, but I can't be? So what the thought pendulum helps people do is when I'm in judgment, I start creating curiosity. So it brings my thoughts down to the middle, which is less positive and negative. It's neutral.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
honestly, whenever you are depressed, because you don't want to live in a constant state of positivity, your body can't take it. There has to be yin and yang. There's the both.
Yeah.
So that's something that I wanted to share. I think it's a really powerful concept. But the negative question that I have, but it's the curious part of my mind is when you're saying we need to attract the right kind of money, the right kind of mindset, how is it there is some actual arseholes who don't have any positivity in their life and are minted? Right? Because that's the fair, that's
To
the
be fair,
argument.
there is an argument to that.
I know of arseholes that are not happy, don't have any enjoyment in life, and they're absolutely minted. And
Yeah,
I
but
know
that's
that.
what, right, you've just answered your question, Cuddy. They don't have any joy in their life. Money does not bring you happiness at all. You can have all the money in the world, but if it's got negative energy attached to it, your life's sad. Your life's not nice. It's like you're not a nice person. So it's kind of, yes, there is assholes out there that have money, but I'm telling you, they're not happy. I can 100% guarantee they are not happy people. So it's a case of bringing life's freedom's about choices,
People
isn't
don't
it?
realize they have choice, correct?
You've got a choice for everything. And it's just knowing that, you know, when you've got positive energy along with your money, that's where you get fulfillment. That's where you get happiness and that's where you get joy. But so yes, I agree that there is people out there that aren't nice people, but their lives, they're not happy.
So now, because I'm one of the happiest people you meet, but I'm absolutely skinned. Right? So
Yeah.
for somebody else watching this, they'll go, well, why is Cuddy skinned? Or I'm not skinned, but
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I do know what you. You not got
it,
millions in the bank.
no, I don't have millions in the banks. And I always have, again, I don't know if I'm creating a limiting belief within myself, but I'm like, I choose joy over exhaustion. Because I see a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm going to make 1 million this year, but they absolutely are knackered,
Yeah.
devoid of anything, and they're just so focused on that. And then when they get the money, they're like, "Oh, what was the point?"
Yeah.
See, it's for anybody watching this, it's and as you as a finance mentor, and I know you had other business deals that went wrong.
Yeah.
I remember we talked about it, and you said you'd share. That's not a problem. That
I
that
can
you
share.
Yeah, absolutely. Share that story. and how you were made to feel after it as well.
it,
Yeah, 'cause it's good.
it is good. And so when I sold my accountancy, I was promised that this person that I sold the accountancy to had the same ethics, principles, policies as that I did, and that nothing would change for my clients. And within a month, things had started to change, and I lost £60,000 worth of my future
Mm,
by that policy. And like, but I was very naive, Cuddy, in the fact that I believed, because this person is such a highly influencer within the accountancy industry, I believed everything she said. I really did. And I kind of was like, I feel very naive. And since then, the people that stayed with the business, their culture has been that bad. They've both resigned quite recently, actually. And that's going to make me lose I can't say, but if everyone left tomorrow because those two people have gone, I've lost another 80 grand. That's not a small amount of money. It
no,
really isn't. It's like
no.
no to anybody. And because they couldn't deal with that culture of that business anymore.
Yeah.
And it made me, and when I take positives out of that, it made me realize I know how good I am at customer service. Like
Yes.
my customer journey, that's the positive I'm taking out of this. When I'm teaching other people, I know I'm an expert because this person with massive influence over a lot of people, like, within the industry, hasn't got the customer service levels that I had. And that's how I built that business. And that's how I want to help other people to do that. So it's kind of like, what am I going to do? Am I going to sit and wallow in it? No, I'm going to take those learnings and make them better in my own life.
But does that not come back to why we reference that there's some people are arseholes and they still have money?
Yeah, it does. It really does. But we don't know if she has money. So, like, I'll tell you now, I've seen in the last 30 years so many business owners who look successful on the
Yes,
outside,
yes.
posh car, fancy clothes, everything. You dive into their accounts, they're not cash rich at all.
Yeah,
And it's an ego thing. There is so many. I'm not saying she
yeah.
is or she isn't, by the way. I'm just
No,
explaining that
yeah.
what we see sometimes isn't real. And yet I've seen the most humble of people working on their business, not very, like, it's not flash, it's not, but honestly, you look at their accounts and like, you made money, well done, this is brilliant. Like, how do you replicate that? I mean, I once saw a business mentor tell people that if a financial advisor didn't have a better car than they did, why would you take financial advice from them? And I'm like, how? What? Like, the financial advisor needs a nice, if they're driving around in something that's falling apart, but you don't know where that person's priorities are. They could
Exactly. I was going to
be
say you like doesn't
putting
matter the car.
money. A financial advisor is probably saving for their future. If they don't care about a car, some people want a big house. Other people want a nice car. Other people want to just create memories. This, like, for me,
Yeah.
life's about creating memories. If I've got money, it's going on like doing an experience of something. I'm
Yeah.
not materialistic at all, but there is other people that are. But make sure you can afford it. Like, don't do it just so that you look better, because actually the richest people aren't the flashiest people.
No, no, they're not. It's funny. I remember watching a story on Jay-Z, and when Jay-Z had no money, they were gangstering it up, gold chains, all the bling. And then when he's become a billionaire, he now walks around in tatty t-shirts, and they were like
Oh, Alex
the change is
Morsey.
unbelievable.
Alex Morsey walks around in his gym gear all the time. Like,
Who?
really? They don't care.
Who's that?
Alex Morsey is oh the
Yes, school.
yeah, he's the gym guy.
Yeah,
It's I've forgotten what his actual business. This is a proof that
school.
about you need, like, your personal brand is much bigger than your business brand, because I cannot remember the name of Alex and Mosey's business.
School.
School. Oh, he's got school as well, but that's not. That's not
Oh,
his
I
main
thought it was
business.
all right. I thought it was
But
from.
he is
Oh
school.
no, he invested in school, didn't he? That's
He
right.
did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Invested in school. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's just a proof of you need to build your personal brand.
Absolutely. No, there's a lot of people. Right. No, look, this is fantastic. I actually quite do. I quite like Alex Hormozi, to be fair.
I do.
Yeah.
He
100%.
talks he talks non-jargon. That's what I really like about him.
You know, there's a lot of times I get so many compliments from people saying, Cuddy, thank you so much for dumbing it all down for us. I'm
And
like,
me too. That's what I get
child. I
told.
know I'm a child. If I don't understand it, I can't expect anyone else to understand it.
That's why we get on.
To be fair, Tracy, yeah, we're very like-minded children, childish people, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's very true. And look, people either gonna like that or not like that. I get that. I get that
Yeah.
completely. So, we were going to talk about journaling and how we can change our money mindset through, especially the power of writing. I
Yes.
think a lot of people don't underestimate the power of journaling, but talk me through that process of changing the mindset through journaling.
So when you journal, it releases your subconscious slightly. So
Yeah.
because you're just writing. So I've built a money mindset transformational journal
Mm.
for business owners. And it's a 6-step process. It's not like an annual thing. It is just it's going to take some people a month to get through. It's going to take other people 12 months, depending on how like focused you are on wanting to change.
Yeah.
And it's about understanding your limiting beliefs and then understanding what you can do to change them, putting new scripts into your subconscious.
Yeah.
So to do that, to put new scripts in your subconscious, which you obviously know is, you've got to practice these new scripts, affirmations, like you've got to when we change, our belief system needs to catch up slightly.
Yeah.
So sometimes we need to write things down. We need to say them out loud. We need to practice them so that we believe them, so that when we tell somebody else, our face actually looks like we know what we mean.
Congruency. Now,
So journaling is really good for that because it's just taking that time out to actually understand yourself. And not enough people do that.
yeah, that's very true. I have genuinely enjoyed this chat. Now, before we finish up and we wrap up, because I know we're a little bit limited for time today, is the actual premise, and I just did another podcast talking to somebody else about this as well, is the premise of writing helps the neural pathways and the connections in the brain rewire because the brain likes to be proven right. The brain will always prove itself right, and it'll do whatever it can to prove itself right. So if we convince our brain that something is right, it has to make it happen, which
Okay.
is visualizations and
Yeah.
it's the neural pathways within the brain, which is connected to the subconscious and everything like that. It's all connected. And yes, it takes time. And I think most people's stopping blocks is they think if and if we're talking about manifestation and we're talking about, bringing things into ourselves, it's kind of like I think people are expecting Amazon next day delivery, whereas it's more like Argos, where you put a request in, it has to go out, it's got to come down the carriageway, it's got to come down the belt, and you might be waiting 15 minutes for your Argos
Oh,
pack to
great
be there.
analogy. Yes.
And that is 100% my analogy. That's the beauty of that one. Is I
Yeah.
think when people are talking about manifestation, we're expecting Amazon, but it's more like Argos.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to be fair though, once I was reading like Happy Money again, back to that, and he talks about the manifestation of money coming to you, and so I started doing it for a few days, and then I was just walking around the block here in Spain, and I saw a €2 and a €1 on the floor sat next to each other, and I was like, "Oh, it happened! Money's coming to me."
True. And a lot of people will go, well, that was only €3. I'm like, are you shitting me? That's the start.
It's a start, yeah. It's like the belief system again, isn't it? And that's the point. It's like your belief system. Like when I think about manifestation, I'm not that woo-woo, but I do believe that it's the subconscious in your mind. That's what you're training. You're not putting it out there to the universe to bring it back. It's you training your own mind to believe it. That's what manifestation is for me.
And on that bombshell, That was the Mind Management Mentors money mindset. If it's in the mind, it can be managed as well. Your money mindset can be. Tracy, is there anything you'd like to share before I wrap up?
No, just thank you very much. If anyone does want to get hold of me, the website is tracyirwin.co.uk. I'm always on LinkedIn. And yeah, very soon there's going to be a money mindset journal out. So if anybody does want to change their money mindset, I am the place to find that.
Perfect. As always, big love from Cuddy. I can't wait to see you on the next episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. We're talking episodes every 2 a week. And if you're liking the content, subscribe, and share. Get your friends involved. I'm trying to be around Scotland as much as I can. And if anybody ever wants to chat, just email me and we can have a chat about how we can help you manage your mind. Big love from Cuddy, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Mind Management Mentors podcast.